Good afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. Correctional officers should be returning to regular duties after going on work to rule this morning. It started about 7:30. As the government and correctional officers are yet to decide on 2017-2019 wage negotiations. Chairman of the Jamaica Federation of Corrections, Arlington Turner, says there has been no favorable communication from the Finance Ministry since the union rejected its offer.
What we are saying is that when we get back this revised offer from the government, what we see is that we have started from square one again. We wrote to the ministry to say, look, send us whatever it is that derives from the October 31st meeting. We got this claim and it was not favorable. We communicated this to the staff, and the staff continues to be restive where this negotiation is concerned. So as it relates to the staff today, this is a staff action. This is not a union issue.
He also addressed the severity of the protest action.
The inmates in our care are so fed. The inmates in our care are safe. The security of our institutions are not compromised in no way, shape, or form. However, the regular duties in relation to external issues cannot be carried out until we reach a stage within where someone says to us, we will get involved here. And we are asking for the Minister, Nigel Clark. 2 letters that we had sent to the Minister had been ignored. And this is where we are saying enough is enough.
Mr. Turner is threatening further action if the Finance Ministry fails to respond, but he did not state what those actions will be. The National Security Ministry and O'Brien's International Car Sales and Rentals have reached a settlement regarding the supply of used vehicles for the Jamaica Constabulary Force. O'Brien's is to supply the vehicles by next Thursday. Permanent Secretary Dan McIntosh made the revelation today in a letter to Parliament's Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, PAAC. PAAC Chairman Dr. Wickham McNeil said the Finance Ministry will proceed with legal action if O'Brien's fails to deliver the vehicles. Manchester residents are running scared about a threat to kill 1 person a day until an alleged gangster is released, but the police are assuring they will take steps to prevent the threat. That gangster is Rohan Smiley, a man charged for multiple murders.
The demand for Rohan Smiley's release or else they'll killings has left residents and business operators in Manchester concerned. However, head of the Manchester Police, Superintendent Wayne Cameron, says there is no need for panic.
We just ask our residents to be very much aware of their surroundings, to pay particular attention to anything that may come to their attention in terms of suspicious activities, and to notify us immediately. In terms of Mr. Smiley remaining in custody, it's going to be there for a while.
The police say Rohan Smiley is being held in connection with 5 murders. They also told On News Center that the person who called in the death threats claims to be a relative of Smiley. A relative has disputed that claim. For the police, the call could have come from a member of the Greyground gang, which they say Smiley is the leader of.
I think we are in a good position to do that now. I've mentioned before that we have solicited the assistance of our organized crime unit, CTOC, in Kingston, to help us set the stage to use the anti-gang legislation against this man. And we are in the process of doing that now.
Rohan Smiley's relatives claim that they have been unfairly targeted by the police. They told our news team that they believe the police have no evidence against him. We put that argument to Superintendent Cameron.
I'm going to encourage anyone who thinks that way to be present in court when that time comes.
Prince Moore, TVJ News.
Still in Mandeville, a man and a woman are dead following a crash on the Spurtree Hill Main Road this morning. They have been identified as Adrian Wilson and Janelle Cox. The incident happened about 1:15. Reports are that the two were traveling in a Toyota vehicle when it crashed into and broke a concrete pole belonging to the Jamaica Public Service. The circumstances which led to the crash are unknown. An appeal this afternoon from the Association for the Deaf for the Jamaica Constabulary Force to arm some of its members with the skill to communicate with members of the deaf community. But even amidst that cry, there's a warning for the officers themselves to get their hearing tested. TVJ's Dwayne Anderson reports.
Executive Director of the Jamaica Association for the Deaf, Kimberly Marriott Blake, believes deaf people are at a disadvantage due to the nature of policing.
It's across the world is the fact that once someone is being taken into custody, they're handcuffed. And handcuffing a person who is deaf means that their mode of communication has been cut off.
So once deaf persons are handcuffed, they are unable to explain themselves. And oftentimes explanations are the difference between jail time and the subsequent stereotype that comes with time behind bars.
Even for them to be able to try and write, for them to use gestures to explain, they don't have that if they're handcuffed. Getting an interpreter.
Speaking of being arrested, she said the association received no reports of persons being picked up in the state of emergency dragnet. But she's displeased no one found it fit to even consider how such a group would be facilitated in terms of communication under the operation. Mrs. Marriott Blake recognizes the skill to communicate with the deaf is limited in Jamaica, not to mention the police force. But she still feels a body responsible for serving all persons must start taking steps to cater to the deaf. One way this could be done is to start training at least one officer at each station to do so.
Getting an interpreter on site to support in areas like that is our dream. That's where we'd like to see things going, where at no point is there a deaf person who is going to make a report to the police, is being apprehended for whatever reason, is handling an issue with an agency or support service and not having an interpreter. That's where we'd like to go. We have a limitation when it comes on to interpreters itself. There are few persons on the island with the skill. That's something that we've been trying to encourage, to get more persons who have an interest into the area.
In the meantime, police officers are being asked to pay attention to their hearing, including those exposed to continuous explosions in volatile areas.
We are trying to get them back on board because they are exposed to excessively loud noise at the gun range or even their regular line of work. So exposure is there, and so monitoring of the levels becomes important. Sometimes too, especially at the range, if they're not protected properly, then they can develop a hearing loss. And then, of course, they're going to have problems to hear their sweethearts or their children or their colleagues and so forth.
They recommend that officers who find they've done damage to their hearing in the field be transferred to desk duties where they may remain active but be in less danger. Dwayne Anderson, TVJ News.
Solve our issues. The call from cane farmers who now reside in the Hampton Meadows housing scheme in St. Thomas. The farmers say they were handed the keys to their houses in December but are yet to get basic amenities in the units. Details in this report.
A dream come true for cane farmers in Hampton Court, St. Thomas, slowly turning into a nightmare they would rather not have. The farmers received units in the newly constructed Hampton Meadows housing scheme in the parish last month. But weeks later, they are yet to get water and electricity in the houses.
We have to carry water from way out on the road and stuff. We come in and sometimes every minute water gone.
Because we pay for the water, when it's like $10,000 per connect the water and support, but to our old bill there, then so we carry the old bill before we can get some water. Right now we're not up no light.
We have to pay back $10,000 for pass the house, plus $1,500 the back amount of the oil and money to the person who are going to pass the house.
What has happened in the area is that homes were certified by the DEI and the certificates passed on to JPS, and that's a part of the normal process to receive electricity. However, a number of residents did not come into the office, the JPS office, with their documents to sign contracts as the process requires. And so some are now coming in, but because of the delay in time between when the certificate was generated and the present time, it has expired.
The residents say they were told that the National Water Commission, NWC, has been experiencing leakages in their pipelines.
Failure to fix it means that you would have persons here being exposed to the possibility of health-related issues. We'll see to what extent, while I push to get water, how quickly we can resolve the issue with the Water Commission.
Anthony Lugg, TVJ News.
And time now for a preview of what's coming up in this evening's health report.
In the next edition of the health report, we look at food poisoning.
When you put things in the freezer, make sure to keep them in sealed containers so that the juices from meat and so on don't drain into your ice trays or other foods that you may have in the freezer, because that's a source of contamination. And unfortunately, you may not recognize, you may not look at the thing and recognize that it's been contaminated.
That's the health report this evening in Primetime News. And now for today's healthy living tip. Keep food surfaces clean. Separate raw food from cooked food. Cook food thoroughly to the appropriate temperature. Keep food at safe temperatures both for serving and storage. And use safe water and raw materials.
And in sports, reigning champions, the Kingston Hummingbirds, will look to close out their best-of-3 final against the Manchester Spurs when they meet in Game 2 of the Berger Elite League netball final later today at the National Indoor Sports Centre. On Monday, the Hummingbirds took Game 1 58-49, with goal shooter Sabrina Spence netting 38 goals from 40 attempts, while MVP Shanice Beckford weighed in with 20 from 23. The Spurs, though, will once again rely on goal shooter Giselle Allison, who scored 23 goals from 27 attempts in a losing effort on Monday night. Tuesday's game is expected to start at 7 p.m. with live coverage on TVJ Sports Network. Jamaican John Campbell had a decent start to his international career, but narrowly fell short of a maiden half-century as the West Indies reached lunch at 89 for 1 on day 1 of their first test against England at Kensington Oval in Barbados. Campbell hit 8 fours in his score of 44 before being dismissed by off-spinner Moeen Ali. He and Craig Brathwaite shared in an opening standoff of 53. And since then, Brathwaite has pushed on to 34, while Shea Hope is on 20 with the Windies 98 for 1. And that's the Midday News. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Do remember to join us at 7 for the Primetime News package. On behalf of the entire team, good afternoon.